I'd like to go ahead and take a roll call, please.
Member Chaplin.
Here.
Member Childress.
Yes.
Here to start.
Here.
Member Eckhart.
Yeah.
Member Galassi. Member Zay.
Here.
All right, welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming this morning. First, I'll move to approve the minutes 24-0397, the legislative minutes of the regular meeting Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Public comment?
None received.
All right, thank you so much. Chair's remarks. I do have some chair's remarks today. And this comes from our lobbyists. In Springfield, the Illinois General Assembly stands adjourned for the week, after having met Tuesday through Thursday last week. This week, legislators primarily focused on filing new legislation, and while several committees were scheduled to meet this week, many then canceled as pending legislation was not ready for a vote. Yesterday was the deadline to file substantive legislation for the 2024 spring session. So far this week, 857 new bills were filed, 509 House bills, and 348 Senate bills. Both chambers are scheduled to reconvene from February 20th through the 22nd. Some important dates to remember. I'll say them slowly because I know you'll want to write them. February 9th is actually, that was a couple of days ago. It was the filing deadline was Friday. February 21st, it's the governor's budget and state of the state address. March 15th, the Senate committee deadline for Senate bills. The primary election, of course, is March 19th. And then April 5th is the House committee deadline for House bills. In Washington, D.C., the Senate stayed in Washington throughout the past weekend as they attempted to pass a supplemental appropriations package that includes foreign aid for Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel. And I did radio news this morning, so I broke the story. I'm sure I didn't, maybe locally, but actually, the Senate Republicans spent all night filibustering and talking, so nobody could break in. But then the $95 billion package was eventually approved very early this morning, so now it moves to the House. So those are my comments.
That
And
vote was 70-30 or something like that.
you got me. I didn't.
I think it was. It was pretty lopsided.
But the House, now
Now
we'll
we'll
see
see what the House
House
does, right?
and the House Republicans are pretty much opposed to it. So we'll see what happens. $95 billion package. All right. So now I would like to move to approve
Second.
our legislative agenda, which is LEG-R-2-24, a resolution adopting the county's 2024 federal legislative agenda program. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Questions?
Comments, questions? Well, again, I'd just like to reiterate what I did kind of over today, and that is just like our state agenda. This is a living, breathing document that we can change at any time if we have additions or other things we'd like to mention in it. All right, Member Chaplin.
Thank you. So just maybe a couple additions. I'm sorry, I didn't get to you guys earlier on this, but I've been a little busy. So, sometimes we've had the noise relief for the communities around O'Hare. And we just had that gentleman come, talk about that issue's still not resolved, maybe getting funding for, better windows, sound, because they were putting in better windows for the sound, things like that.
Windows
In the homes, so their homes were being retrofitted.
so we would pay for.
No, federal government, no.
The federal government. Oh, gotcha.
So,
Okay.
right, so they were, for noise relief for those communities around O'Hare. And then what about reinvesting in our local infrastructure and our capital improvements? I don't know with ARPA if that's super needed right now, or
Can I speak to that?
Yeah. absolutely.
So we do have, Jason and I worked on a capital, separate document
okay.
program. Now, I didn't put it in here, but it will be a separate communication.
Great.
Last week, we had a really good conversation with Greg Bales. We had a Teams meeting with him, Riley O'Connor, who's one of his associates, and some of our department heads. And we talked about looking at, so I have broken down our 5 congressmen, how many people in DuPage they have in their district, where in their district. So Sarah Hahn will give me a stormwater project for each one of those 5. So we're carving out, they used to call them earmarks, they call them now community project fund. Applications drop March 1, and I literally have 7 or 8 days to complete them. So I have to spend my whole week, because you have to fill it out on Google Docs. Only one person can have access to it, but, so we're trying to compile what are the most attractive projects and the price range they think we can get funded. So we are working on that, but it's kind of separate from the policy document.
You know,
But we
I
are
think-
working on it.
remember saying I would
Thank
like to be in on that via Zoom or something, or just a phone call on
Yeah.
those sorts of meetings. I think that'd be helpful. Would you like to do that? Remember
Well,
that?
Sarah, we're just now in the beginning stage of identifying projects, so, and Greg will say, I need 250 EV station for Caston. I need 400,000 for Garcia so we line up what we need to do per member and their interest and the committees are on and where, so I'm looking at Greg's guidance.
Okay.
But once we have a list, of course, yeah.
Well, one of the things that member Kajewski and I talked about was getting $500,000 from maybe Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy for the animal services capital.
We've talked
campaign.
about that. The problem is there's no appropriation bill for animals aside from livestock and ag.
What about like a
It
general
doesn't fit
infrastructure?
into like labor and commerce or, I've put that in for years, but it's really difficult to fund because they don't have a pot, one of the 12 appropriation
Yeah.
bills that it goes through. But it's
I'm
in our
sorry.
capital book.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry,
then-
we finished.
And then I just have one last one, bless you.
Thank you.
Local economic development and the Convention Visitors Bureau, I think we've had that in there in the past as well. Something, to promote,
And the state
Economic
agenda, not the
development.
federal.
oh, that's in the state, okay.
Yeah, it
all
would
right,
never
great.
get funded at the.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, great, that's it, that's our.
But I think, Jason, we sent out the capital, the initial capital program, we sent out, when I sent out the legislative, I thought I sent it out to the board.
We did it, I believe, it was the same day as the legislative.
Okay, maybe I
branch,
just
it went out.
but we
that
can
day.
resend it.
Initial, but I can tell you since then, we've had some additional conversations.
Great,
We're reworking, as it's a living document. we
absolutely.
Continue to do
Right.
it, so.
But we
Thank
can
you.
send the capital book out to you and you can all look at it.
And also, there is a nice website that's interactive, and
Oh, right.
it goes by district and it's called
DuPage.
DuPageCapitalPlan.com.
oh, great.
You can go on there
You go
and
there,
you can
it's very
search by
interactive.
congressional district, state. I do it every year.
We'll
I've done
continue to
this
update.
for, I don't know how many
Okay.
years. We have a capital website and you search it by state rep, state house, or congressional district.
And well, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Member
Thank you.
Chaplin. Other questions or comments? Additions, subtractions?
One comment, just on these blurbs here, priorities. Keeping our communities safe, protecting our residents from senseless gun violence through the enactment of a federal ban on assault, weapons and high capacity ammunition. Illinois has already done that.
This is a federal agenda, but this is from Member Chaplin.
Right, but we live in Illinois.
But we can,
We live in Illinois.
We don't, you want
It's
to
already,
support
it's
a federal?
already banned here. in
Yeah,
Illinois.
but you know
I
what?
put in
We don't
stuff from
stay in
last year that didn't
Illinois.
pass,
I mean,
so-
some of us travel to Wisconsin or Iowa,
so it's
I
up to you
don't,
guys.
but some
Some
people
people
do.
do.
Well,
Louisiana, there
I
you go.
mean, you guys know Illinois and Chicago has the strictest gun laws in the country. And does that stop any gun violence in the city of Chicago or outside of the city of Chicago?
No,
Not
but we
really.
still have less gun violence than other states, they're,
You might be happy to know you sound exactly like my dad.
and my husband.
Well, But
Okay, boomer.
I'm,
I think is what you.
I'm elected by the people of DuPage County.
Yes,
I mean,
that's
I
true.
really, I don't have any federal wanting. I'm not running for United States Senate or Congress.
Well,
I
what are
mean, I'm
you-
a
I mean-
DuPage County board member. I worry about what's gonna help us here in DuPage County. And the state of Illinois is already,
Jim, if you're
Outlawed
comfortable, if
this.
you want to take it, if you want to remove it, that's fine. And I don't
Okay,
have
let
an
me
issue.
just get a
I mean, I would
consensus
rather
if we're
do
not
a-
voting.
like we did before, where we put in, sensible gun,
Yes, we can. change it.
restrictions and
But,
legislation.
but wait a minute, let's not
I think.
do what
The state
one
agenda
member
has
wants.
this.
Where is this?
Wait, maybe it's
Where
here.
is
It's
this?
in our federal
I
legislative
know, I'm looking at
priorities.
page 11. Page
I
7.
think I have an extra
No,
copy here.
page
You have an extra
11.
copy of
Page
the.
11.
Page 11, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I have it right here,
Okay.
behind this thing, make me all upset.
Okay, page 11, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4,
11?
5, 6, 7th one down. If you want to take a second to read that.
17.
7.
And then on page 17
She
is
wants
a full,
7.
the
Oh, give her me a
keeping our
sec.
community safe.
Okay. Jim, what did you want to amend it to?
Just take it out. and put-
But wait,
wanna take it out?
don't take it out, because I want to get a little consensus. Who wants to take it out besides members A? Members A, you want to take it out, so raise your hand.
Member
That's
Grant.
1, 2. That's 2 people out of a 6-person committee.
I just want to talk about.
So we'll
Can we
leave it-
change,
we'll
can we
leave it
amend
in
the
share.
wording to make it a little more amendable for our colleagues?
Yeah.
What wording would be
Yeah, I would-
more
I would
amenable?
want to comment on.
Yeah, I would like to amend it to make it a little.
Okay,
more-
member Galassi.
I like the verbiage you said, the senseless gun violence or
That's you
however that
said,
was.
yeah, Jim said, yeah.
But I also, I guess my concern with it is it's so limiting. I think we have a lot of issues with crime right now and it says keeping our communities safe. And then it's so narrow,
Yeah.
like to me, there's so many crime issues, both state and federally, that I think this is doing a disservice to the crime issues that we have going on right now, because assault rifles are not the main reason why we have crime issues right now.
Well, and that's very true, because I just read a report this morning that said that crime against people is down, way down. Crime against property, car thefts, hijacking and or carjacking and that sort of thing.
A lot of
It's
carjackings
way
have
up.
people in the car.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Yeah,
what
those
the
are
study-
crimes against
what the
people,
study
yeah.
said. Member Galassi, were you finished?
I don't,
We want to.
I don't approve it as it's written. If we're gonna say keeping our communities, if either change the verbiage
Yeah.
that keeping our community safe and then only talking about
Right.
assault rifles to me is not how I would want that phrase.
Okay, Cheryl, more than half of the committee, 1, 2, 3, 4 people on the committee, do you want different verbiage? So
They
can we
need to give me
change
the
that?
verbiage because I don't know what to write here. I can't just make stuff up between now and then. I need actual
Does it
language.
make a difference?
What other-
Even though the title says federal legislative priorities, it says federal at the top, so.
Yeah, but we're looking at the specific paragraph about keeping our communities safe.
I understand, I'm trying to correlate
Can I just?
that to.
Member Echo, I'm sorry, member Childress is talking.
I'm trying to correlate the federal legislative priorities as it pertains to DuPage County. And
Mhm.
I don't see particularly anything wrong with that statement. Because it pertains to our federal legislative priorities.
I understand.
Here, we were thinking of maybe supporting law enforcement and
Member Echo.
supporting legislation that keeps our community.
Member
safe.
Echo.
I like that, sure.
So I just wanted to throw in a little bit of information that I've got. When we had the mayor of Highland Park here, I talked to her a little bit and got a referral to a person who testified with her in Washington DC about assault rifle bans, and she's working, she's ex-Marine. She's working for the Rand Corporation, and I thought I gave the report to Jason to give to all of you about over a year ago. But, and her conclusion is that the studies, there was a ban on assault weapons for 10 years in the United States. And so there were some studies done as to whether or not the ban on assault weapons actually made the area or made the country any safer. And the reports or the studies come back in all different areas and come back with different conclusions. And her big thing that she talked to me about was caliber size of the bullets, the muzzle velocity of the guns, and the automatic nature of the weapon. But she also, the report she sent me said that 55% at least of the deaths occur through domestic violence. That's the biggest thing. And they're with revolvers. So, I know it's everybody across the nation keeps on saying assault weapons, because we have these big events where somebody comes out with an assault weapon and kills 7 people at a time. But that's really, it's just not accurate, I guess.
I understand what you're trying to say. However, assault weapons are so easy to get. They really are. I mean, that woman who walked into Joel Osteen's church, she had an AR-15.
And those are
What
the
is she
big ones
doing
that are
with the
reported.
AR-15?
What I'm trying to say is that if you're really concerned about senseless gun violence, the senseless gun violence occurs with other domestic violence and with revolvers. I mean, that guy down in Joliet who killed 7 people
Yeah.
in his own family
Yeah.
wasn't doing with that. So
And it's also easier to make a bad day at the end of your life. I mean, it's death by suicide definitely. Um,
I'm just saying we shouldn't,
Problem with
our
that.
focus should not be on assault weapons.
okay.
That's my comment.
Oh,
about
I'm
that
sorry.
part of it.
Member Rutland. Oh, I'm sorry, were you done, Mr.
What?
Eka? I thought you were
On-
saying
on
the
that
same
po-
thing
on
over
that-
and over.
Me,
Yeah,
it was,
I think you were.
yeah. No, that, I'm done with that one. I've got more comments on other bullets.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. On other ones?
Yeah, but if you're just talking about assault
I'll
weapons, go
wait.
ahead.
Well, my suggestion is leave that amendment in there, but add another bullet point for community safety or the crime issues but I'm with you. I think that, I'd be like Chris Rock, make bullets $5,000 each. You know, we gotta do something to limit that spray of opportunity that people with a vengeance can have. So I'd be in favor of adding something else about
So-
community safety rather than taking this
Maybe
one out.
yeah, maybe we could just take that community safety part out of that, because and just leave it
Sure.
protect our, whatever, I don't know. We'll work.
Okay,
Or Cheryl, I'm
Whatever
sorry.
Grant is done.
I think
Yeah, I do
Grant
want
is
to
done
tie
for
it to
now.
some federal legislation, and I just don't know
On
what
this
that is
one,
right now
on
for
this one.
public safety.
So member
Okay, my-
Children,
my-
Take it
my
out,
only
or put it
answer
later, I don't know.
To the difference between the revolver and the assault weapon is the fact that if we used at church, she was the only one killed. However, she got off 30 rounds. Can't get off 30 rounds with a revolver. That's the point.
She was the only one killed so far.
She still got off
Her
30
son got
rounds
shot
in the
head
church,
in
right?
very critical condition.
And the point that I'm making is that an assault weapon was created to kill people with maximum efficiency.
I'm with you.
And a revolver, for all intents and purposes, might be high class, but still a 6-shooter, whatever it is. Okay, and you can only kill 6 people. How many people could that person, if she was really a good shot, have taken out in that church? You know, and as opposed to right now, we're just talking about her. She got taken out, but could have been really, really bad. And she bought the weapon legally. That's
Well, you know, she bought the weapon legally, but here's the deal. She had a history of mental illness and she was still able to
To
get
buy.
an AR-15.
Correct.
I don't know how that happened, but that's part of the problem.
And that goes back to whether you agree or disagree. I don't have an opinion one way or the other, at least I'll keep it to myself. Whether it should be banned or not. You shouldn't be able to buy it, period. That's the point. And think I heard someone say, what do you need that for? And no one has ever explained to my satisfaction why a person needs that. You know, I've heard, oh, I'm protecting my family. What type of people are you hanging out with? that You need an AR-15 to protect your family. I don't know anybody that needs that. And can you, if that's the case, can you buy a tank? Can you buy a rocket launcher, grenade launcher? What else do you need? I don't understand this whole mentality around that, but again, I can decide on getting rid of it.
I understand. Any other comments on this issue?
I'll just comment. I think
Sure.
Cheryl was asking like, okay, well, what do you want to call it? Because it is keeping communities safe. This is just one very small component of it. So if we want to leave it in, we can maybe just call it keeping our communities safe from high capacity rifles, you know.
What page are you on? So,
17, but it's the same as the bullet point. On the
11, on page 11.
Yeah. page 11. So, you know, so it's not so broad that it's just saying keeping our communities.
Well, and that
safe.
was my question. Did Member Galassi and Member Chapman, did you want to work on updated language?
Just in the title, I think, you know.
Should we just
For
call it
now.
public safety?
I think
Still
that's
too
still too
broad.
broad, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's gotta be specific about what this is talking about, like the high capacity guns, you know, somehow the title needs to just stop there because I understand the dangers of assault rifles, but I also don't think they're this crime is escalated and there's so many other issues why.
Do you want us just to take it out or like I defer to what you want me to do or?
I mean, if you want to take it out, since it's a, kind of partisan issue, we can remove it. I know we don't
Why don't
want
we
to.
just remove it, just rename it?
I just have one question. My two colleagues here said, who's going out and buying this? And we can have a assault ban, right? Where can I buy an assault rifle in Illinois? Or a high capacity magazine?
I don't know.
Can you get them online?
You can't. It's been outlawed. The state legislature
Oh, right.
already did it. So, I mean, again, we represent our county. I don't know how this is going into.
And may I just say, we,
Every page.
we
I know
represent.
narrow-mindedly, but here, it also says an overview of DuPage County.
Right.
We're legislators in DuPage County. I can't go anywhere in DuPage County and buy an assault rifle or buy a high-capacity magazine. I can't go anywhere in the state of Illinois and buy one. So why are we getting this national issue on our federal legislative agenda? Illinois has already taken care of this problem. I mean, have we taken care of ghost guns? Have we taken care of everything else? Are we sentencing people the right way for committing crimes with guns? I mean, that's all I'm saying. It just seems like we've already taken care of this issue.
I mean, I don't have I mean, if you want to pull it, I'm fine with pulling it. I don't have an.
Member
Yeah, I'm pretty indifferent to it, but to your point, we've got Indiana so close by, you can get whatever you want there, you can get a lot of.
As an Illinois resident, I cannot go there and buy an assault rifle
But they come in to the state of Illinois.
Illegally, yeah.
illegally.
Maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but again, we have federal legislators. And that's what this is to do, is to talk to our elected officials in Illinois. Once they get to Washington, this is what we want on a federal level. So like I said, you could have an opinion one way or the other, and it's strong opinions about Second Amendment rights and all the other things. But the question before us today is, do we want the Dick Durbins, the Roger Krishnamurtis, and all the other state elected officials on our level that we've sent to Washington, are they going to address these issues in this document?
Other comments? Okay, I'm gonna ask for consensus for three things. Number one, take it out. Number two, leave it in. Number three, leave it in, but retitle it. Okay, so who wants to take it out completely? It's two. Who wants to leave it in completely as is? One. And who wants to leave it in, but use different wording? Okay, that's we'll work on.
We'll work
different
on the
wording.
wording.
Okay,
I can live with that.
so we're leaving it in, but with different wording.
So I guess I'm asking Connor, I need to rework it, send it around to
Yeah.
everyone that's here. And then you'll have to amend it on the floor,
Okay.
county board.
Okay,
Unless you want to just hold it in committee, which we can do too. It's up to you. Whatever.
Either works.
whatever. Let's amend it.
Let's
Let's
not
get it
hold the whole
passed.
thing up.
Yeah, let's
I wouldn't hold the whole
Yeah,
thing
let's
up.
pass
Get some
it.
ideas here in the next day or two, and then we can amend them.
Perfect. Okay, let me move on
Take 2
then.
weeks, right? This doesn't go.
Yes, sir.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Can I ask a question then? I should add the noise relief, expanding funds to soundproof
Yeah.
schools and homes and
Yeah.
the flight. I need to talk to
Yeah.
John Loper.
Okay.
But
And
is
we
that,
have, and we have.
We put it in
put
the-
We have
it
in the
there before
past.
For soundproofing of
Yeah.
homes within the flight pattern of O'Hare
Yeah.
Airport.
yeah.
Are we still hearing complaints about
Yes,
that?
we
Okay.
just had a guy a couple months ago from your
Yeah.
district.
And they
Well,
just
article-
approved another batch, but it still doesn't got to everyone.
Soundproofing some schools in that
Yeah.
area too.
So we want to add that.
I want
As
to
a
talk to John
consensus.
Loper
If
to
we
make
could, I
sure.
just
He's
thought-
on that O'Hare
Oh, good.
monitoring committee.
good.
And then how about I'll work on a new paragraph? I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Am I keeping our community safe or retitling it public safety?
We're gonna-
What is the comfort
We're
level?
gonna work on it. We're all gonna send you ideas.
Okay,
Then
why don't you
we'll
all
fix
send me
it back.
ideas? And then I'll type up something for
Yes.
noise relief as well.
Thank you,
Thank
Cheryl.
you.
Okay, for you guys to approve. after
What
I
about
talk to John
reinvesting
Loper.
in infrastructure?
Oh, no, they're doing the capital plan, so that's been
Oh, good,
addressed.
good. Okay, let me move on from this issue. Does anybody want to discuss any of the other topics that we're approving? Member Eckhoff?
You go from gun control to immigration reform.
Okay.
That's not partisan. I just didn't think that the language that was in the explanation was correct because it said that Congress has got the sole authority, I think, or something to deal with this. And I think the president's got authority to deal with it and other officials throughout. the
Oh,
country.
right here on the, okay.
So.
Oh, sorry.
On page 12.
And I think the first thing that I would have emphasized, and we talked about it at the last meeting, was that there's laws on the book that say how many people are supposed to come across, and when that limit has been met, then there shouldn't be anybody else coming across the border. And this didn't really talk about this or that, so I think that needs to be added in. And then on 2, 3,
Wait, let's talk about one issue.
Can we go
at a time.
back? Because I don't,
Yeah, I'm confused.
I would have to do months of research to tell you if President Biden, what executive authority he has on the border. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. With all due respect, I don't have the ability to do that.
start with the stay in Mexico deal.
I think he's saying just wants to get rid of the United States Congress has the sole authority to regulate immigration and
So just put
naturalization
the
policies.
current influx of migrants. Yeah,
So just get rid of that one sentence.
Yeah, I think you're in it.
Has the authority?
All right.
Has the, you want me to put has the authority together with the
Just take out that,
administration?
no, just take out the whole sentence and just
Yeah,
put the current.
the
influx
current
of
influx.
migrants
Okay, take out that whole
where
first
Russia
The other
was-
thing was.
I think the
Yeah.
most important part of that, this description is the federal government should provide funds to local entities who are,
Yeah, can't sustain it.
Well,
yeah, who can sustain it.
Can we-
Remember Echo?
Well,
Or remember,
That was my point, is that they shouldn't get to that point because there's a law that says how many people come across the border and it should be followed. Like, that's why I said last time.
Well,
Well, that's why
Any
it
of
says
these
by
issues, I don't
enforcing the
think we-
current legal process.
Yeah.
we don't get in the weeds on any of
Well,
these
we're not.
issues.
Well, that's why I put it in here,
Yeah,
to
it's in
enforce the current legal process.
Yeah.
Because you're right, there are laws on the books.
Yeah, well, if you could put the limits of the people coming across, I mean, and that's what.
I don't
We don't get
know.
into the weeds on any of these issues.
I don't
They're
know
just
if there
general.
are specific limits.
I think with that new
Yes, there
legislation
are.
there was, but
Your federal lobbyists did that for you pretty quick.
Member Zay,
yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add to this is maybe how many buses have come into DuPage County that we're transporting to Chicago, stating that this has had an impact on, DuPage communities and continuing, what, we don't know. I mean, we haven't brought it up. What happens if Chicago says no?
no,
We're not
they
taking
won't.
anybody today.
Well, there's a landing zone. They have to take them.
Well,
But I will tell you
they don't have,
what.
you never dealt with the
I
city
don't
of
think
Chicago
they have
much,
to
have you?
take 'em.
As of January 22nd, we've had 4,255 people come through DuPage County.
I can get the number from Craig Deaconman.
Yeah, Craig told me that.
I could say
um,
over or an
I
estimate.
mean, they
It'll-
just
it's
might
growing.
not, they might not be aware that we're
Right.
receiving these buses. Man, it's been a pretty quiet secret out there.
Who might not be aware?
Our congressman and congresswoman, they might not be aware that these are actually, they are coming into our communities and then going down to the city.
Well, and as I mentioned at the last meeting, they're coming to our communities because the landing zone in Chicago has very specific parameters about the times these buses can come in and drop off migrants. And their buses can be impounded, so they drop them off at train stations here in the suburbs, not just DuPage County, so that their buses are not impounded because, they can drop them off at 5:30 in the morning and.
Right, but almost 65% of those buses are stopping in DuPage County. We're taking the lion's share of them.
Okay, so what would you like to change on this?
No, just put down the total of buses that we have been seeing having an impact on our communities of these buses arriving and then, going down the city.
If you can go with the second sentence, because I had talked with Mayor Pineda in that last sentence. He said he's seeing like the food banks and the other social, services, they're seeing an influx because people settle in the suburbs. There's
Those
a
people
lot
are
of people.
staying and they're not staying in the city. They are.
Right.
Right.
So I can add it there at that last
They're
sentence.
coming
on
out here
this page.
slowly but
Yeah.
surely. I mean, that's.
No, we can't control where the people go.
right, 'cause
Well,
it's-
they just
No,
want
that's
to
what I'm
find
saying,
their
but we are
family
having an
and
effect
friends,
on, now
right.
it's like you said, our food pantries, our affordable housing, all of that's now being strained even more.
Member Galassi?
I was just gonna add that, because I know Chair Conroy mentioned that in her remarks 2 board meetings ago, or last board meeting, about the migrant situation, and she said that they aren't staying in Cook County. So you know, I do think that I agree with members A that you have this sentence here, but I would just like to emphasize stronger that it is affecting DuPage County's infrastructure, and it's going to continue to put a lot of stress on our, you know, infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl, do you have enough, to
Yeah.
go on?
I
those
mean,
comments?
I think, to be honest, I'm already changing immigration, I'm adding noise, I'm redoing public safety, I'm more comfortable keeping it in committee, because to go on the floor and try and amend all this is kind of a lot.
All right,
We can
do a
just
meeting.
call next week. Just
can we do a
call.
meeting next week?
You know, it doesn't, I mean, Congress, to be honest, I mean, we know they're not gonna do a lot this year because of all the fighting, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have priorities, but I don't think there's a rush.
Do you wanna
I'd
wait
rather you
2
guys be
weeks
happy
then?
with the
Do you wanna wait 2
document.
weeks?
Do it in between county,
We don't have-
finance.
The problem is the
and
first and
county
third,
board.
there's no time for me to meet.
You know, I actually work.
All the
this
times
week
are
from
booked.
4 AM
Pretty
to
much starting at
10
7:30.
a.m. So let's do a special call meeting at 3 AM tomorrow. And
No, I
then-
think I could wait till the 27th. I
All right,
mean,
let's
that's
wait
just
till.
me.
Okay.
I want you guys to be happy with the document, and it's a lot of stuff.
Do
I
you
do
want to do
agree.
it between finance and county board?
Does this have to be go to
Sometimes
the next
finance-
board meeting? What's the
No,
rush?
Cheryl
Well,
just
housing's
said
not
there's no
meeting till
rush.
March 12th, so we could do it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. We'll meet
Housing, we couldn't do
Yeah.
it March 12th because housing's meeting.
Right.
after
Oh,
county
that's
board.
right. Okay. Oh, okay.
If you
So
could,
2 weeks from today?
Yeah.
We could do, well, I'm sure you're gonna have other stuff, but I mean, I can get this cleaned up so you're happy with it. And then it can go to board on March 12th, so.
we just check with our lobbyist to see if I was right or wrong about there being already designated limits to the amount of people coming.
You mean limits by nationality?
I think that's how they do it.
Member Eckhoff, why don't you do that research and get back to
That's why we have a
Cheryl on that?
lobbyist.
I don't.
I'll be happy to do some research.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna get in the weeds to the
I already
point
sent you the
where
UN
it's
report on
not
sex
accurate.
trafficking. I mean, what else you?
Well, let's-
Member Childress.
Are we putting the thing forward to UN next or no?
Member Childress.
The question that I have is, and this is getting to Member Zay's point. This is a federal priority for DuPage County. So how we handle this, when we speak to our elected officials, this is, once we clean this up, this is gonna be our Bible, of what we want to speak
Yeah,
as one voice, is that
yes.
what we should be doing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Right,
that-
it's
I'm-
something, I
I'm
mean,
just
it's a
asking.
fluid document. They actually added assault weapons a year ago after the Mayor of Highland Park came, and they
Yes.
amended it. It's just kind of a starting place, and a lot of the things on here, like the biggest, the most money we received from the federal government, putting ARPA and CARES Act aside, which is very unusual, is Community Development Block Grant, Community Service Block Grant, and so every year, we're fighting to increase those to keep up with inflation, because that's where you get a return on the tax dollars that are sent from this county, or those programs.
And that's my main, I don't know, perk about our lobbyists is that like the Springfield lobbyists gave us we paid them under 6 figures for Springfield. And they brought in over $800,000 worth of things to DuPage County, which is a great
More.
return on investment.
Well, I absolutely
Well-
agree with Ms. Zay.
Yeah.
That we are DuPage
Yeah,
and we are Illinois. But I just wanna make sure I'm clear on how we handle this once it's done. You know, if we got 18 people on the board and you don't wanna have 18 different messages out there.
right,
either.
you're right.
And that's why
And
we're
then-
trying to do consensus to
Compromise is
the
good.
extent we can, right? But when you go to NACO Legislative Conference, I used to take this and just turn it into a one pager for you. So it's like,
Okay.
these are just some priorities. Workforce, there's too much paperwork.
Yep.
I can't get anybody trained here.
Mhm.
Environment, we're concerned about climate change.
Okay.
CDBG, just so you
Yep,
have
yep,
some
yep.
topics. It's really hard to pass a bill in Congress because there's 4,000 counties. And Springfield, I can actually pass a bill.
Yeah.
Because it's better, but I don't know if you guys remember today on the agenda, you had the 10.2 million DECIO grant. This is my running capital list. I don't think you realize the millions of dollars our lobbyists and our staff here have gotten. It's releasing them and reappropriating. That 10.2 million we got in 2019. We've had to reappropriate it every year, which was no small feat. And Sean Reese and Stan Spera and I have spent 20 months, 2 consultants, 200 emails to get that 10.2 million released. That's how much work it takes, but we do have a ton of capital. And that's why Jason and I do the capital book, because once in a while, Hi, this is Sean Caston's office. We want a 250 project. Done. Here, I got my list. I'm ready.
Yeah.
And we have to adapt it to what they want from us. And sometimes Springfield will call and say, we want a drainage project. We want a social service project. And we have to have a list always ready to react. And that's what we're really good at. And we still have a lot more to release. Now we got the 10.2. Now we're going after a 14.5. And our lobbyist called the governor's office and try and shake it loose. And that it's a lot of work, but we spent a lot of time on capital.
Yeah, and I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
we
You
do.
know, and also
We do.
something could come up in May that we don't even know about right now.
Oh, absolutely. That's why
amend
we
this.
don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
That's right.
And in Springfield or here, and that's why, these are just a list, they're not the end all be all.
I
It's just to
understand,
have
yeah.
a, so we send this to our federal delegation once the county board adopts it and said, and then Greg Bale's job is to go to our 5 congressmen and our 2 US senators, the staff, mostly in DC, that's who you want to get to. And they say, this is DuPage County's agenda. Yeah, right.
Good, no, I'm clear.
So are we done with the immigration part? Okay, we're not?
No, I am.
Okay, we
I've
are.
raised my hand for
Okay,
this.
let's go to the next item. Member Eckhoff?
Well, there's 3 things that I saw that reminded me of NACO resolutions, which usually remind me of high school resolutions. That talk about increasing funding for various things, all of which I'm sure are very worthy. But there's no amount of money that it talks about, and it seems to me if we're asking people to raise or spend more money in one spot, we need to ask them that there be corresponding cuts in another.
Well, that's something I can't, you have
I'm
to
not
be
saying
flexible.
where.
That's not something I
I'm
can.
not saying
predict.
where to cut it, I'm just saying in general, we shouldn't, I mean, NACO is if you went into their meetings, you double the size of the federal budget. Nobody ever talks about keeping a balance, and we don't have a balanced budget, but at least trying to keep within the budget areas that we're in. And I think it's just irresponsible to constantly talk about increasing things because it makes it unrealistic. You can't constantly increase things unless you cut other things. So at least I think we should have some statement in there that there should be corresponding cuts in other areas. And I won't bore everybody else with anything else.
You
Except,
have ideas on where to cut?
yeah,
And what are your ideas?
well, I'll get them to you, but I'll have to. I mean, the first thing is you gotta change the mindset for people starting to look in the area. It's entitlements. That's where it is. So the other thing that
I'm sorry, remember, Eckhoff, where would you put that? What area are you
I
talking
just
about?
think it's a general concept. If we're gonna look to increase spending in certain areas, you need to look to decrease spending in other. The other thing that I thought, and we've talked about that, Liz and I talked about it last time, was about the mental health care. My little pet peeve is that in addition to treatment, I think we need to try to do some research and spend some money, to figure out the cause of the increase in mental illness, and that wasn't in there.
I put it in the state agenda. It was in the state agenda, not the federal. Yeah.
You put in the federal,
If the committee wants me to, I can, but
it's an easy thing. I don't know why we'd have it on one and not the other.
All right, it's in the state agenda. And one member would like it to be in the federal agenda. Do we have a consensus on the, raise your hand, please, if you'd like it to be put in the federal agenda too.
Well, I think it's important.
All right. If we can add something about that, the federal
Yeah,
agenda.
Job here is done.
There you
Okay, does anybody else want to talk about any other issues? Okay, so now what do I do?
I'm not gonna
I
put
would
the
say,
combo.
I've already got,
can't do
I
that.
made the motion, I got a second, and now do I,
Table it to a date certain.
okay, and what's 2 weeks from today?
Can we meet on that date, Heidi? Is there anything else going on after county board fund?
So that's February 27th. So I would like to
Table the
We have to
motion
have it
until
during-
February 27th.
table the motion to
Multiple.
approve the federal legislative. agenda. I'm sorry.
That.
Member Eckhoff, do we have something? I'm sorry.
I just.
Well,
she's-
Oh,
she wanted
They're
to-
sorry.
Okay, so I move to table the federal agenda approval until February 27th. All in favor of
Aye.
tabling? All right, any opposed to tabling? All right, so we're tabling. Any old business? Member
Sure, I'll
Eckhoff?
get you those 5,000 things I want.
No, I think what I really need is some public keeping community safe, public safety. That's where I need some language, because I'm not.
Member
I'm not sure
Velocity
how to
and Member
address that.
Chaplin, would you work on that language together?
Yes.
Use
Thank
general
you.
language for that.
Because it's not one of NACO's priorities, so I don't have like,
Lucy, you want to be
I
part of
don't
that?
know.
Lucy, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, any old business? Any new business?
Move to adjourn.
Member Eckhoff.
Second.
One thing that I'm on E ETSB
Nobody cares.
and they brought up a bill that's in Springfield about encryption of radio.
Yes, I'm aware. Yes, yes.
The committees.
I've talked to Linda about.
I'm not
that.
aware. Encryption of radio?
About the encryption of radio transmissions between firemen and.
So there's not a
police.
delay.
And the problem is that people can tap into that and figure out where the police are going, where the firemen are going. And I sat here with Chief Torb, who's on the committee last time, he said that was a real problem when they were trying to do the investigation in Willowbrook.
Hmm.
And so, but there's a bill in Springfield to make it
4339.
in real time available to other people other than the police and the firemen. Not only does that hamper their investigation, but it puts the firemen and the police at risk.
Oh, as a journalist, I can see that media would be all over that if that's an option.
So I
Correct.
think,
The social,
Yeah.
the media wants the bill, the law enforcement's against
Yeah.
it. So if I could just say to that comment, I've read all 3,000 bills I introduced this year. I've read them all. What I do is, this is what I normally do for the committee. We wait until the first hurdle, the first bills that get out of committee. Because there's no point in focusing on bills that aren't moving. And I don't
that's
have.
fine,
the
that's all I was asking, is that we keep our eye on it.
It's on I have 300 bills on a watch list. And so I'm starting to go through them.
She's the best. She is the best.
So
My position is that we should be following the police and the fire and have delayed and release to the public. So I don't know
Well,
where
you know,
everybody
that's
else.
a whole conversation on
I know, I don't wanna, that's
Because,
why,
no, seriously, if there's a fire or a police thing going on XYZ, you'd want the media to know about it as some, yes, you would, to have people avoid it. There's a
No.
fire on Barrington at Route 68. Please avoid the
we'll
area.
release
You
it to
wanna
you
know
when we
where it
release
is.
it to you.
I agree.
So.
They're not gonna.
as a
Well, yeah,
journalist,
this-
that's not your point of view. That's why it's a really, they are talking to the sponsor. It's
I just
aimed
wanted
at the
to-
Chicago Police Department, okay? It's not aimed at
I
our
think
law
it helps
enforcement.
people to know where things are going.
So I'll
Right
have a
now,
bill
but
list
the-
with like 20 bills.
Our
and I'll-
firemen who
Here's a
came
bill
and
for
talked about the
26.
radios that they're putting out with firemen last time, talked about it, about coming out here, being part of a Springfield bill that's gonna affect DuPage. So I just wanted us to.
It's on
be
my
aware
list,
of
you
it and
betcha.
start
It's on the
thinking
list, and
about
it doesn't come up like we always do. We have the watch list when it
Yes.
comes up, and when they start filing, because they're doing nothing right now. It hasn't come
Right.
up, it hasn't come from first reading, it hasn't been assigned to anything yet.
Right.
I mean, so once it comes up, it's put on that, and it gets through first reading, that's when we usually
Yeah.
jump
And
on
that's where
board.
Cheryl will know.
And we really limit it to about
That's when we can
15,
have
20
your
bills,
meeting
because
at
we
3 in the
can't
morning.
lobby more than that. It's just too hard.
That's when they'll meet. the
It's just too
fans.
hard.
Gotcha. Okay, any other new business, old business, new business? All right, without objection, we are adjourned.
We all.